Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So Joe, Dr. Brownlee, Joe is he's an executive at ACS. They're the manufacturer for the Core 3. He's a product expert, and I guess also can assist in any kind of billing questions that you have. Joe, just to give you a background, Dr. Brownlee's office, they have two or three monitors, and they've also ordered a second order that is still to ship. They have started billing the Core 3, and they've run into some kind of questions about reimbursements. So I didn't really know the exact answers on some of them, so I figured I'd defer to you.
Okay. Do you want me to take this as just a general information, or are there individual questions?
Yeah. So let me just tell you what we're using it for, and maybe that can lead into a segue of a good conversation to where you can help us. So we have a very robust cardiometabolic program. And our cardiometabolic program, we do a lot of remote monitoring. And so we do remote monitoring.
Did I do something wrong, Thomas?
No, I can't hear him either.
Okay.
Brownlee, Dr. Brownlee, here we go. Okay. I think you're muted.
All right.
By the way, you're the sharpest dressed on the call, Dr. Brownlee.
Oh, thank you. So let me start over. So, and again, the whole goal is so that we could generate a conversation. And so we got a very robust cardiometabolic program. And our idea, we do remote patient monitoring for blood pressures and all this other great stuff. We tie this into our weight loss program as well. We have patients who have cardiovascular issues that we are needing to do Holter monitoring, MCT monitoring, all this other great stuff on. And so obviously, when I spoke with Tom, we were already in the space, and we send the patients out to the hospital to get, hooked up to a Holter monitor. And so one of the things of the wellness home is that we keep everything in-house. And so when Tom brought this to my attention, I said, this would be another great advantage for us to keep this in-house. So I reached out to Tom because our reimbursement have been somewhat varied. And on your website, you do list how to code this. I just want to make sure that if we're having to give $400 to interpret the result, that we would in fact, obviously our patients come first, but we would in fact be reimbursed for all the time and the effort that we're putting into hooking the patients up to this machine, setting the appointments up to go over the review of the reports and all this other good stuff. And then obviously we want to make sure that we get quality data, right? Because the patients are coming to us, and obviously we can send them out to the hospital. They can get hooked up to a Holter monitor, but we want our data to be just as good. Dr. Hopkins is our cardiometabolic specialist. I want him to feel comfortable with being able to say, all right, he got a patient who's fainting or dizzy. He want to hook this patient up to this machine. But at the end of the day, I got to make sure that the reimbursement is there. And so far, it's been a little hiccup in terms of how we bill. So I just want to hear your thought process and what you guys are doing so that I can make sure that we are doing the right thing before we invest in any more devices.
Gotcha. And is your billing person on the phone on the call today?
Yeah, I have my COO, that's Jackie Gazzetta. I have our consultant, Ms. Arjimon, who is on the call today. I have our director of operations, who's well versed with billing. That's Janine. Yeah, we have who you need to have on the call right now.
So when you said hiccup, is that are you getting denial letters?
Yeah, so we've gotten 1 or 2 denials. Yeah.
What was the indication? What was the reason for the denial?
Well, it was the coding. It was something about the coding. I think we applied the wrong code to that patient. And I think we are rebuilding that patient with a different code, but I think it had to do with coding.
The ICD-10s?
ICD-10s. As far as an indication?
No. I think it was the wrong CPT code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of scenarios that are most common as far as errors that I see. when you're especially when you bring them in house, if you bill, for an example, if you do let's see, you build a 93241 code. Okay, that is a global code for the beyond 48 hours, less than 7 days, or up to 7 days code. If that's the intended code to bill, that will incorporate the 3 different the individual codes. That's like an umbrella code, if you will. That incorporates the 3 codes: the analysis, the hookup, and the interpretation. Sometimes what people will do is they'll bill the global, and they'll throw on top of that code the 93244 code, which is an automatic denial, because it's considered pulling apart, like unbundling the global code, which always creates a red flag. Another thing that I've seen now, the devices that you have, well, the ones that the Core 3 device that incorporates, that could do all 3 in one. So that does your Holter, that does your long-term Holter, that does your event, and that also does your mobile cardiac telemetry. Okay, so you can incorporate all 5 of those codes just in that one device. However, you can only bill that particular code once for that patient. If you're going to do a Holter, because of the patient's insurance requires you to do a Holter prior to the MCT, then you have to obtain the authorization for both before doing the first. Does that make sense? So if I have a patient that says they have symptoms after a couple days, whatnot, you're going to do and the insurance isn't going to reimburse you for a long-term test. So you do the Holter first, the 24-hour Holter. You get authorization for the Holter, and if you know the patient's already told you they have symptoms every 2 or 3 days, what I always suggest that people do is get the authorization for the Holter, then also get the authorization for the MCT or the long-term test at the same time. But you cannot bill for both at the same simultaneously, right? You're going to bill for the Holter first, the 93230, and then you're going to, when that comes back negative, the patient doesn't have to come back to your office for another patient encounter, because you won't get paid for that. You leave the patient at home with that device, then you reorder the test as the MCT, and that's where you bill the 2 separate codes, right? Which is the 932, the 2 separate MCT codes, which is going to be set from the Holter. That's something that we see, I don't want to say quite often, but sometimes people will, the number one denial is they'll unbundle the code, which you can't do that. If there's a global number, you have to bill the global number. You can't bill the 3 individual items.
So 93228 and 3229 is what you're talking about, Joe.
That's the MCT. You have to get both of those authorizations done.
Okay, and if we are just doing Holter for 30 days or 48 hours, then was the service fees $400 for that as well?
No.
No, so those numbers those dollar amounts are very specific to your location.
So $400 is for MCT, right?
Yes.
And if we are only doing Holters, because for Illinois Medicaid, they do not pay 93229 and 93228. And even if they decide to pay, they just pay $400 or something. So, and they don't 93241 and 93245 extended Holters. Unfortunately, Illinois Medicaid does not reimburse those extended Holters as well. So we have option is 48 hours Holter. What is the service fee for that? If you're just gonna do 48 hours Holter, what is the service fee for that?
Okay, so there is no financial benefit to doing a 48-hour Holter. 0. The only thing you're going to see, what they changed in those indications is that the 93224 code is up to 48 hours.
Yes.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
So the benefit is only, as far as the business side, I would just do a 24-hour Holter on those patients, which is going to be about $100.
Yes. So that's what so
How much does she pay ACS for that report?
Again, that depends on the location. I didn't search that. I guess I could search that. But if you're doing your own Holters, that'd be no fee for us. If we did them for you, those fees range typically from $35 to $50, depending on the location.
I'm confused. What do you mean if you do it? And we do it?
So those devices, they have, we have a patent on those devices. The patent is in regards to the internal cell module that's within that device. Our device is the only device that doesn't need a gateway device, meaning a cell phone. It doesn't Bluetooth to a cell phone, then the cell phone sends the data to us. That device has an internal cell chip in it, and as soon as it's started or enrolled, it basically starts a phone call. That phone call streams that live data to our backend lab. If you want to do your own Holters, you can with that device. You do not need to stream to us, but it does require a qualified arrhythmia person within your building that monitor that and grab that data. With event monitoring and MCT or mobile cardiac telemetry, it is required that 24-hour monitoring is done. So that means you have to have eyeballs on the ECG live as it's going through. Holter, you do not need that. That is not required for Holter, for the 93224, the 93241, or the 93245.
So essentially, Dr. Brownlee, just to translate, if you guys were to do your own interpretation on the 24-hour Holter, then you'd pay no fee to ACS. If you want to leverage that out to ACS, just like the MCT, then they charge you whatever the fee is. I think it's somewhere in the $40 range. So your profit on that would be around $60. Probably in Illinois a little bit less though. It's probably going to be around $45, $45 to $50 just for the 24-hour.
So, but how does the report look when it comes to us? So what if we were to do a Holter monitor? What does that data look like when it comes to? Will we just get a EKG reading, or what does it look like?
It's a whole report.
It's a PDF in your portal, correct?
It'll be located in your portal. Thomas, can I?
Yeah, you can share the screen.
Can I share the screen? Okay, let me see if I could.
Just press that little square button or the little arrow at the bottom.
And while you're doing that, can the report be tailored specifically to us?
So in terms of what, putting your logo on it?
Not necessarily logo, but adding more information or subtracting some information.
That's a good question for Joe. I've had people ask about he's got to get back on. I think he accidentally hung up. I've had people ask about customization before. Hey, Joe. Okay, hold on. Where is he? Here, you're muted, Joe.
Sorry, guys. Okay.
It's all good. Yeah, while you're doing that, we had one other question. Dr. Hopkins asked how customizable are these reports for their organization? Are they able to do any sort of customization of the reports?
Yeah, many different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
So we could have a separate call, Dr. Hopkins, to go through that. That way I can get educated on it too. I don't know about all those options.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are you also part of Dr. Brownlee's organization, Dr. Hopkins?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, cool. I had invited one other office to this and none of them have shown up. So I was just making sure. All right, Joe, are you having trouble sharing screen? Do I need to?
I'm trying to share. I just cannot.
I just stopped present. If you do the little square with an arrow at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm pushing that, but for some reason it's not letting me share.
I took a GLP-1. Was there all these years?
Okay, well, so the reports that you're currently getting now through the portal, it's basically a PDF report. There's a commentary, there's a complete narrative, everything's been edited with our clinicians' notes. So again, it's very similar to what you're currently getting.
Oh, here you go. You can share your screen now. Sorry about that.
No, okay.
Yeah, there you go. My bad. Does that button work now?
Right. Screen to show.
Okay, perfect.
In regards to the type of report. So for example, let's say we have a patient that we want to do the cardiac monitoring for 7 days. They need to do the 24-hour Holter monitor before they can do the MCT.
In some insurances, yeah. I forget who asked the question earlier, not allow.
Arjuman.
Yeah, they don't allow the MCT. Oftentimes that is the case. You present that you're to basically prove that you're doing everything you can first, but then you have a situation where the arrhythmia is so transient that you need something bigger, better, and that's what MCT is. So if you call for the authorization for both, at least they know you're making an effort. Most of the time when you have the denial, it's because there's never been an established letter of necessity. And that's most of the time where when you want to go to more advanced tests, you have to require a letter of necessity, especially in the scenario where the patient has a transient arrhythmias that you're trying to capture. So that is why you need to do a Holter first. If they don't do the Holter, if they don't allow you to do the MCT, you can try to get the 93268 code, which is the event code with the Holter code. So you'll do the 93224 plus the 93268, which is a Holter and an event. And again, if you capture what you're looking for within the 24-hour Holter, you're good to go. You don't need to continue. But if you do not, that's where the letter of necessity is provided, to where you can get the payment or the reimbursement for the 68 code, the event.
With the one patient that paid out, they did MCT, and they did, and it was Medicare. They paid okay. But as in a second, but for our don't pay for, Arjman, you said
They don't pay for MCT.
they don't pay for MCT. If we enter, because again, it's about providing care for our patients, and so if we getting $40, we can't pay you $40. So I don't know. But then again, if we get the report, we have to be able to interpret the data. So how does that report look?
So that if you do in those particular situations, yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're basically would be breaking even if you're using our services. And you want to, I understand, this diagnosed patients. So in my suggestion would be that you have your staff, they could activate to basically download that little mini flash card within the device, and you can review the full disclosure. You're not going to get, 100%. They have to do a little work, but you can get the full disclosure and review all the ECG data that was recorded on that memory card. You can do that. You do not have to send that to us. You already have that feature, that ability with that. And I can instruct your staff on how to do that.
Billy, are you getting that?
Yes.
Okay.
I get all those PDFs. So
Yep. Billy, you know how on the actual monitor there's that little flash drive?
yes.
Yeah, so that's what he's talking about. That's holding all of the actual data each time.
So we just have to get like a reader or something to be able to read.
Yeah, and you could find those. It's basically just a USB stick with a micro reader. Some computers and laptops actually incorporate that micro flash card reader. Very, very simple. And again, Billy, it's not something that you absolutely have to know arrhythmia to use this feature. You can obtain all the data, and then the doctor can review the pages of within the 24 hours and see if there's anything that jumps out at them.
Yeah.
The software does have an analysis engine in it, but I've been doing this for 30 years, and I know that a 5-minute 12-lead EKG while the patient's completely flat, not moving, is still wrong 90% of the time. So I'm not going to put a lot of trust in the end. It's just suggest that you look at the full disclosure. You don't have to pay anything out, and you can now keep the entire reimbursement for that.
Okay. So
How about event monitor 93268? Same thing with that as well?
No.
That's tricky.
Yeah, event, it's absolutely required that if a patient has an event that they're pushing the button, especially when they're symptomatic at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, you need to have someone that screen at that time.
I'm not MCT. Is the same thing for event as well?
Same thing for event. If an event occurs at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, someone has to be there.
And how much is the service fee for event monitor?
That's about $95. I think your reimbursement for event monitor is about $260.
Yeah.
50. Yeah.
Okay, so for Medicaid patients, that can be the option that if Holter does not work and if it's not enough data, then we can do event monitor, not
Correct.
MCT.
Correct, but it's you request authorization for both codes, 93224 plus 93268 prior to the encounter.
Yep. Yeah.
So do we have the report up yet? Are you?
I can't see the screen. It's dark.
Dr. Brownlee,
Yeah.
the report you're looking at, do you remember one of the first patients we saw where I printed out all those pages for you.
Yeah.
That's what it will look like.
Yeah. So even for Halter monitor, without having them to.
That's what it's going to look like. But if you're, again, Billy, if you're doing that download yourself
Yeah.
and you're not comfortable with the arrhythmias, provide that report along with the full disclosure to Dr. Brownlee, and he could review all the ECG data.
Okay.
What you get when we do those services, Dr. Brownlee, is it's a report that's completely been edited, and the commentary's been added, and notes are there. So it makes it very easy just to look at the first page. But when you do your own Holters, it's not the case.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And we want to use, we definitely want to use the, station where insurance allows us to.
Yeah.
It's just that we do have a lot of we do have Medicaid patients, and I want to make sure that we're able to monitor them and also get the data, but don't want to, be upside down with those. Jamon, we can talk about, I don't know what the reimbursement is for Medicaid. We'll talk about that next. What I want to know now, though, okay, so Medicaid patients, we know that we're going to have to strategically, figure that piece out in order to provide them with the services that they need, right? So, but we're talking about a patient where we went and we saw that obviously that their coverage, they do have this coverage for MCT, or they have this coverage for Holter monitor, whatever the case may be. My question to you is, talk me through the flow of billing because that you do with that. Because one of the things we were talking about is what we do now is we have a patient to come in. We don't put this with any of our other, we are internal med. And so we can't do all this stuff in one visit. When we have a patient who's coming to be hooked up for Holter monitor or the MCT, whatever the case may be, we have the patient to come in for a separate appointment. At that appointment is when we do all, we do all the initial stuff. And then we have the patient to come back to bring the equipment back, and that's when we would download the report. My question is how we bill with that flow that I just told you. How do we bill in that scenario? What codes do we use? Do we only use one code one time? Do we use it? I mean, talk me through that.
I understand. So that's another little people get caught in that trap. So what I mean by trap is you can't have you cannot bill a patient encounter and bill the Holter on the same day. So what you just described is correct. You do the patient encounter, you assess the patient, you do vitals, you see what the patient's going on, what the indications are. You take care of all of that. Then you, on your super bill, you say, this is what I want to do. You check the box. I want to do a 24-hour Holter. That patient has to be rescheduled for that visit, or you can do the Holter on that same day within that patient encounter, but you cannot bill the Holter on that same day. So when the patient returns with the device, that's the day you bill for the Holter, because that's the day that you incorporate all three codes within the umbrella that you've done the analysis, you've done the interpretation. You cannot bill. See, the better one, the hookup code, and on when the patient returns, bill the global. That's going to be immediate denial because the global incorporates the hookup. So that's where it gets confusing. So what you just described is correct. However, I would just add the caveat: when the patient returns the device, that's when you bill the Holter code. Because that's not so unclear.
All right. Jackie, Arjumon, do we have that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Jackie, from what we've done, can you explain to me what we've done wrong?
I'm actually going. I think we put the wrong codes at the wrong time. Some of they were bundling with like an office visit, and I think we really need to identify specific days that these procedures are being done and not tagged onto an office visit.
Got it.
That's exactly the issue.
Got it. All right. Okay. I just want to make sure how to do it. I mean, the reimbursement wasn't bad for that one Medicare patient. Obviously, there were some revenue. There are going to be some that we may not make as much on. We get that. But I wanted to make sure that we are absolutely billing the way that we should. I think I forgot about the $400 charge for the interpretation. And it's not that forgotten, I don't know, but I had to hold everything because I needed to make sure that for us to continue, with this, because where we're going to have to eat up the cost. I get that piece, but I don't want to eat the cost up because it takes time. Billy is meeting with these people. He's scheduling these people. We're waiting for the people to come back. It just takes a lot of time. And sometimes it may be simpler to send the patient over to the hospital and let them get a Zio-Pat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for us to do it, it has to financially be futile. And so it has to make sense. And so we always, just like with the TMS machine, we always understand that we're going to take a hit on some patients. That's just where it is. But I'll be damned, we can't take a hit on a lot of patients, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, complete. I mean, if I could be so bold to suggest something that I've done, looking strictly dollars and cents, doctor, if it's a Medicare patient, just go directly to MCT. There's no reason why you're going to do a Holter. It's better care, to be completely straightforward with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're going to see everything right up front, live as it's happening. And we have sent patients to the hospital. We have clinical teams that are prepared for all of that. And it's just an absolute, not only is it a waste of time for your patient, but it's a waste of time for your entire team to do a Holter first or an event. It's a Medicare patient, straight Medicare as a primary, do the MCT.
Got it. Makes sense. And that's what we need to know.
Yeah.
Again, the reimbursement wasn't bad on this one guy. And he was straight Medicare. He was managed Medicare, but it was good. We didn't have to get a prior approval, an authorization. We were able to look and see that, he had the codes, on our little ability stuff that we look at benefits. And we ran it and we did get paid, but we do have a couple of them that we did not get paid as such. And I think it is because we applied the wrong codes. And so I just wanted everybody to, and I'm glad you got on it. Tom, you did good by having him on because
I wouldn't have been able to do this, man.
Yeah, it gives us some clarity. We're getting ready to move this now to our other location. And we do have a heavy Medicaid population there, but we also have a heavy Medicare population there. So, and I want to make sure that we understand how to bill it in such a way to where we won't be taking catastrophic hits.
And again, just on a side note, MCT, again, there's only two codes. There is no global 93228 plus 93229, and that has to be billed upon the return of the device.
All right, let's set it in. Billy, you got that?
Yes. So the universal one, the 93241, that is
a 7-day Holter.
7-day Holter. Okay.
Yeah, up to 7-day Holter.
Okay. So MCT, let's just say patient 5-day MCT. It's just those two codes.
Don't confuse. Don't. There's no number of days. So
okay.
an MCT is anything greater than basically 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can have a patient on an MCT driving home after being hooked up within 5 hours, and you have a 15-minute run of VTAC. That test is done, and that is a viable test. You will get reimbursed. Long story, years of days and things like that. That was created by an event competitor of ours that got billed that got paid every single day that event monitor was on. So what do you think they told the doctor? Do a 30-day event on everybody. So that changed about 5 years ago. So I'm specifically referring to MCT, mobile cardiac telemetry. There's two codes. There's a 93228, which is the interpretation, 229, which is the technical. The interpretation is going to be about $27. The 229 is going to be roughly that varies from $800 to $1,200 depending on the locality. However, there is no hookup. Okay, so you have to, in order to get what's going to set off a red flag is if you bill the 28 and the 2-kind code on day 1. That's immediate red flag because you have no report, you have no doctor interpretation, right? It's the same thing as billing the Holter on the day of the encounter. You have no report and you have no interpretation. So you always want to bill those 2 codes for MCT when the device is.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Jackie, you got it?
Dr. Brownlee, you're such a good team leader, man.
No, it's them. It's them. I'm
I know.
just here. Yeah,
Just-
they are awesome. They embrace. I have crazy ideas, and they talk about me really bad. You should hear them, especially the COO. She lets me have it. She's like, "Damn, what is he thinking about now?" But anyways, all right. So I just want to make sure we all got it. We are moving forward. So Tom, go ahead and send the units because Dr. Hopkins is ready to get started. So we're ready to move. Excited about that.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
I tell
guys.
you what, Joseph and everybody who's on Joseph's team, thank you so much for taking the time
Oh, thank you.
to talk to us about this. I have to tell you, I'm, I've interpreted one or two of them. I actually like the ease of it. We were sending to the hospital, so we have to do a referral for them to go to the hospital. They have to sit in the cardiac plate lab or whatever it is. They have to go. Then they have to go back. We have to wait till the report. This alone cuts out all of that. And so when Tom, I don't know why Tom emailed me about this, but it was perfect. I was already looking at it. And so when he emailed me, I was like, dude, this is right on time. And so we know that we have people who have cardiac issues. I mean, dude, we do testosterone therapy, right? And so we have people who have polycythemia all the time, and they're going into cardiac issues. It's so many different issues. And so we definitely want to make sure that we have the right information. We'll make sure we're billing right and all this other great stuff. So thank you so much for this education.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
All right,
All right,
Joe,
y'all
I'm gonna call in a sec.
All right. Y'all got any questions, anybody?
By the 93241, that's just for the 24 hours.
No, the 93241 is a code that basically requires beyond 48 hours up to 7 days. That's considered long-term Holter. The Holter code is 93224. That's a global code that incorporates all three, features of it, if you will. And it's basically covers 24 up to 48, but there's no benefit. There's no financial benefit going to 48. There is no 48-hour code specifically that's going to net you anything more than the standard 24.
Other than you holding up the equipment for somebody else.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. So you have the Holter is 932 hours.
Okay.
Well, how easily are these reports entered into our EMR? Is that an issue?
No, I mean they're paper reports just like your CMT. And what Diane would do is she will upload the reports to the patients, and when we get ready to go over them, they should be there for you and anybody else to review them with the patient. Up here, Billy, he just brings me mine, but he does the same thing. He'll upload them. He'll give them their own title, and they will sit in the patient record. But in terms of interpreting them, it's great. I love to be able to tell the patients that you had this many seconds or whatever the case may be on this.
Nice.
So
we are cardiovascular specialists. So anyways, it helps us. So thank you so much. Arjun, thank you for taking the time. All my team, thank you so much. We're ready to proceed.
Sweet, and I'll send you the recording, Dr. Brownlee.